welcome to today's coaching call. We're going to dive in right now talking about the $20 trillion of national debt, and we're going to visualize it. Whenever I first wrote my book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation, I was drafting the initial early copy of it back in 2006 and in early 2007. And I was going back and I was revisiting some of those early notes as I was trying to get my message on the national debt, together for presenting around the country. And it really is flabbergasting to see how far we have come in just a short amount of time, even 10, 12 years, how much debt the United States is on the hook for. Let's just use this real quick visualization to kind of get our heads around this. You've probably seen this before, that it really is exponential. When we think in terms of millions, or we think in terms of billions, and then we think in terms of trillions, we think, well, that, maybe they're just kind of similar, they're just bigger. Well, in reality, they're exponential, right? So 1 million seconds is 12 days, but 1 billion seconds is not 24 days, right? It's not just double or even times 10. It's not 120 days or all of this. It's 32 years. So it's a very big exponential leap from 1 million to the B. One letter. Amazing what one letter can cause. 12 days versus 32 years. Of course, 1 trillion seconds would be the equivalent of 32,000 years. So you can see that the difference, even between a billion and a trillion, is really quite exponential. It's not what we would think. So let's go ahead and take a look at this infographic, and it helps us to visualize this if you haven't seen something like this before. Here is a single $100 bill, right? So there it is right in front of us. Then we take a stack of these $100 bills, and we create a stack of $10,000, right? So this is $100 bills. We're going to keep denominating in $100 bills. Okay, now we have seen what $100 looks like by itself. Then we saw a stack of $100 bills. That was $10,000. Now here we have $1 million in $100 bills. So you can see that it's a pretty sizable stack, right? Probably you could take that and you could throw it into a very large knapsack or a piece of luggage or something and head out of the country really quickly, right? So you got a nice, pretty decent size amount of money there. Okay, but now as we shift from 1 million all the way to 100 million, and now we have this individual in the image, so you can see the relativity of this. You can see that it's quite large. That pallet over there contains $100 million in $100 bills, and the couch is worth almost about $50 million there. So you can see in relation to an individual how much money $100 million or $150 million really is. Okay, now let's go to the next step, and this is $1 billion. So we have the same $100 bill, but now we have $1 billion total, and you can see that it is quite staggering, right? This is a lot of money. Here is the individual here standing next to it. He's about that tall, and so you have 10 of these right here, very, very large, with this kind of in comparison, so you can see how much smaller. So we're getting big, and we're just at $1 billion. $1 billion, by the way, is spent by our government in a very, very, very quick amount of time. You'd be surprised how much money is spent in such a short amount of time. But now we move into this netherworld of trillions, right, where we're just getting used to billions. Now we have to really take all of this into consideration and see really what $1 trillion really is. And this is $1 trillion. You can see here is that little pallet that had $100 million or however much it was. And then we have this right here. This was about $50 million here. There's that individual there standing up next to these crates of dollar bills or $100 bills. You can see here is a truck in relation to this, and you can see how wide and long this huge football field, so to speak, of $100 bills, how much it takes to create $1 trillion in $100 bills. You can see here's the White House over here. Here's a big jumbo jet to put things in context. Let's see it from a different vantage point. Now we're looking from above, maybe from a helicopter or something. Maybe we're Ben Bernanke or Janet Yellen looking down from a helicopter and seeing this huge, huge spread. This is $1 trillion. There's the White House in context. There's a football field over here in context. There's a big jumbo jet in context. And this is $1 trillion. So you can just imagine now what $20 trillion looks like. And by the way, $20 trillion is the total of the national debt, right? That's how much we owe. And here we have a picture of the $20+ trillion of U.S. government debt in full-blown context. I mean, here is your little itty-bitty Hot Wheels-looking semi-truck right down here. Here is that same little guy right here with his little stack of dollar bills, right? And then you can see this towering stack of $100 bills. Here's the Statue of Liberty in context. Here's a huge, massive crane in context. To have $20 trillion in actual physical cash would look something akin to this. It is, and these are using $100 bills, right? It's funny. I remember back, as I was mentioning, when I first really started talking about the national debt back in about 2006, 2007, I was always trying to find ways to help people understand. And one of the things I would use was a picture of the solar system. And I remember talking about, like, if you took a dollar bill and you stretched it out, side by side, and you stretched them all the way out from, the sun, it would go all the way out. I think at one point with our national debt, you could stretch all the way out to the planet Mars or something like that, with $1 bills. And that would be our national debt. And that really helps you understand how astronomical these numbers are. I mean, $20 trillion. And it really is just getting used to billions. I mean, when you listen or read scientists, astronomers, they look at the stars in the sky, and they have a number, that they believe how many stars there are. And that number typically falls into the hundreds of millions, right, of the known stars that we can see. So, again, trillions is a number that is just mind-boggling, and we have $20 trillion in U.S. government debt, right? Money that you and I are on the hook for, we have to pay back. We have to pay back, right? It's a debt. So visualizing this stuff, letting it sink in, understanding the real problem here that we have over-leveraged ourselves in almost every way imaginable, and that we are living on the kindness of strangers, on borrowed time, so to speak. No matter what you see come out of Washington, no matter what is said by any politician, no matter what they concoct and come up with, nothing changes the fact that we owe this much money, right? Nothing changes that fact. There's nothing that changes that fact. And until that fact is addressed, and until that fact is hit head on and addressed, and a plan is generated, these are the issues that we can have economists talk all day long about something new. They can talk about how they have a new plan or they have a new idea. But oftentimes, the collateral damage of those ideas looks like this, right? So this is the result, this is the fruit, if you will, of Keynesianism, right? Keynesian economics. Now, we can't lay the entire blame on poor John Maynard Keynes' grave, right? He's not the only one that encouraged this type of excessive amounts of leverage in order to boost the economy. Now, most people cannot point to the economy and say that they sense or they feel like we have that much debt. I mean, when you look around, it looks okay, doesn't it? You drive down the street. I mean, people seem to be okay. People aren't living in ditches. I mean, people have homes. People have jobs. I mean, everything seems to be moving along according to a normal pace, except this one little thing called debt. And it will not go away by wishing it away. And the people who are owed that money will eventually get that money one way or the other, right? So it's something to keep in mind that we really have put ourselves into massive debt or massive hawk in obedience to the economic ideals that have, in essence, created this debt-based world. So debt now is just kind of part and parcel of our solutions, of our monetary solutions. I would suggest to you that we live in an anomaly. I do believe that in the future, this generation and other generations like it for a period of time will be looked back at as a great experiment that kind of went wrong. We have no other precedent in history to point back to and say, we've done this before and we came out smelling like a rose. We have no precedent for what we've done with debt. We have no precedent for what we have done to money by debauching money. We have no precedent for some of the things that we've seen. Now, I know you can go back and see that there has been debauching of money, but never to this extent.